You're hungry for more. You want to achieve the most in your life. You want to have the biggest tech company. You want to have the biggest social media brand. But you lack motivation. You need that extra push to even take a shower. You need motivation to do your homework, to go to the gym, to read, or to meditate. You need motivation to do everything. But every time you do get this motivation, how long does it last? Most of the time, it dissipates just as you start the activity. For most of my life, I relied on solely
TJ!
For most of my life, I relied on solely motivation. I only did things when I felt like doing them. If I didn't have the motivation, I would just do the bare minimum and call it a day. Now, I like to practice doing the hard things, especially when I don't feel like it. I relied on only my emotions to propel me throughout the day. Now I do things even when I don't want to, and especially when I don't feel like it. I focus on building discipline rather than being a motivation hound, saying I need motivation for this, I need motivation. I can't start this because I'm not motivated. I don't make excuses for not doing things. So one of my best friends, his name is Celestino, and beginning of the year we told each other that we were just going to take cold showers. So for the first 5 months of the year, the water wasn't too cold. It was just below room temperature. We would get used to the water after like 30 seconds. You would just get into the shower, then you just have your initial and then after that, it would have been fine. But then recently, we've been getting more and more into winter. It's been getting colder. So now these cold showers, they're now serious business. Like they've gotten extremely hard. Now that the water is so cold, we can't cope. When we go into the showers, our manhood shrinks. So now that it's gotten cold, my friend Celestino said that, I'm giving up with the cold showers. I'm going to take a lukewarm shower now. And at first, I was cussing him, saying, how can you do that? You're being soft. But then literally 2-3 weeks later, I decided to do the same thing and take a lukewarm shower as well. See, the thing is, we're only doing things when you felt like doing them. We weren't doing the hard things, especially when you didn't feel like. So my favorite YouTuber, his name's Hamza, and I'm going to put... he doesn't need this, but I'm going to put a link of his channel in this description. And at the end of every video, he says, do the hard things, especially when you don't feel like it. Yes, he may say that because it's catchy, but he's saying that because he wants to instill discipline in us. He understands that motivation is just like happiness. It's like a fleeting emotion. It's there 1 second, the next it's not. If you rely on motivation, you're honestly a loser. Like, you probably won't amount to much if you're only relying on motivation. The key is to build discipline, specifically self-discipline. But what is self-discipline? Self-discipline is the correction or regulation of oneself for the sake of self-improvement. And as you all know, discipline isn't something that you're born with. It's something that you have to cultivate, that you have to grow. It's something that you have to strengthen. And notice that I use the word strengthen. This is because your discipline is like a muscle. You have to progressively overload. See, the problem is we say that we need discipline, but we go from doing nothing all day, spending 8 hours on social media and watching Netflix, to planning a day filled with 10 hours of work. We go from 0 to 100. But we haven't leveled up our discipline skill. So that stuff isn't sustainable. You go from doing nothing to sitting these busy days, then what happens? You give up after 2 days because you haven't leveled up your discipline skill. You have to view discipline like a muscle that you work out. Let's say you're doing bench press. You're not going to go into the gym and start bench pressing 150 kgs. You have to be realistic and start at 40 kgs and slowly increase the weight, progressively overload until you're now lifting a considerable amount of weight. That's the same with discipline. You're not going to go from doing nothing to spending the whole day working. You have to be realistic. And yes, being realistic sometimes is a negative term. But in terms of improving your discipline, you have to be realistic. So how would you improve your discipline? The best way to improve your discipline is to start by doing the small things. Don't say to yourself that you're going to work for 8 hours. Just say to yourself, tomorrow I'm going to wake up at 6 a.m. And after that, it doesn't matter. All I have to do is wake up, get out of my bed and make it. It'll be your task for the morning. And you say that, this is beneath me, this is too easy. But you'd be surprised that you'd even fail to do that. So when you're building your discipline, like how you'd increase the strength of a muscle, now you have to progressively overload. So once you get used to waking up at 6 and making your bed, now you stack on another good habit. Whether it's like praying, whether it's writing in your journal, whether it's exercising, you do that straight after waking up at 6. And then you add more and more habits until you have a morning routine. This idea of habit stacking comes from this book called Atomic Habits by James Clear. Another issue is we say that we need to be more disciplined, but when we now set a schedule and say we're going to follow this the next day, we have given ourselves the opportunity to be disciplined, the opportunity to do something, especially when you don't feel like it. Then what do? We don't. Then our reason is, I'm not disciplined enough. Of course you aren't disciplined enough if every chance that you get to be disciplined, you don't take it. See, we all know that you're not going to grow without discomfort, and you're not going to become disciplined from your comfort zone. The only way you can become disciplined is by doing the things that you don't want to do. And also realize that having discipline isn't going to make things easier. When you're practicing your discipline, when you have more discipline, you're still going to be doing things that you don't want to do. You're still going to be doing things even when you don't feel like doing it. So don't think it's going to get easier. You just have to get used to doing things that you don't want to do. You have to get used to feeling that discomfort. As Hamza always says, do the hard things, especially when you don't feel like it. Love you, boys.